Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by Docsity in partnership with Smith School of Business. I'm Alessandra, nice to meet you all, and I'll be your host for today's event on behalf of Docsity. I see that we already have some participants that are joining the session. Welcome, everyone. We will wait a few minutes before starting to allow everyone to connect so that we can start with our presentation. But in the meantime, feel free to say hi on our chat here on Zoom and tell us where you're from, because we are curious to know. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone for joining us and also thank our panelists for being here with us today. I want to introduce you all to Carrie Regan, Program Director at Smith School of Business. So together with Carrie today, we will explore the topic of the webinar, which is discovering how a single or a double degree program at Smith School of Business can help you develop your career in the international business domain. So we are going to discover more about Smith School of Business at Queen's University, learn more about the academic offer, the admissions, the application, and also the scholarships. You will also have the possibility to interact with Carrie and ask her all of the questions that you have here live on Zoom. So talking about that, I would like to remind you that after the presentation, we will have a Q&A session where you will be able to ask direct questions to Carrie. So don't be shy and just type all of your questions here in the Q&A section on Zoom, and we will go through them at the end of the presentation. So to know more about Smith School of Business at Queen's University in Canada, it has earned international recognition for its innovative approaches to business education and has also been a pioneer in the areas of team-based and experiential learning. They offer Canada's most unique business program, which is the Master of International Business. The school is located in Kingston, Ontario, one of Canada's most vibrant cities, and it is important to note that Queen's is consistently ranked among Canada's very best universities. But we will discover more about that and about the university during Carrie's presentation. So in the meantime, for those of you interested in receiving a certificate of attendance by Docsity for this free webinar, stay tuned because we will be posting the link to get the certificate at the end of the session on the Zoom chat. And I see here that more people are joining in. Hi, hello, everyone. And I think we are able to start now. So without further ado, I'm now leaving the floor to Carrie. And I will see you later. Enjoy the presentation and thank you.
Thanks so much, Alessandra, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm coming to you from Goods Hall, which is the home to the Smith School of Business here at Queen's University. And this shot here gives you, I think, a really good view of not necessarily my current vantage point, but this is a great snapshot of our learning space here at Smith. It looks a little busier than this right now. This shot was taken, I think, maybe on the weekend. It's a little quieter. But just to give you a sense of kind of what our learning space looks like. Queen's is a very historic institution here in Kingston, and so you can see the blend of the historic brick with maybe some more modern touches, which I think really does encapsulate our approach to business education and you know, tying in foundational elements with kind of cutting edge technology and insights. So I'm really excited today to talk to you about our Master of International Business degree available in both single and double degree options, and I can unpack what that means exactly for you in just a moment. I believe that this is one of our most unique offerings for students that are really looking to develop their global perspective, to build a global network, and really take advantage of what is a core competency for us here at Smith, which is international business school partnerships. So let's dig in, and hopefully what I will share with you today will answer all of the things that you came here looking for in terms of information. But certainly, as Alessandra mentioned, lots of opportunity to engage as well. So please feel free to put those questions into the chat or the Q&A window on your screen, and we will get to those as we go as well. Okay, Again, my name is Carrie Regan. I have the incredible privilege of being the director of this unique program and working with these amazing students who come to us every year from all over the world, looking to enhance and develop their core management and global perspective skills. And so I'm going to be talking to you today again about the structure of the program, our approach to business education, a little bit about how we support our students, and ultimately where they end up. So here's a bit of the agenda and the areas that I'm hoping to cover during our discussion today. I think it's important recognizing that all of you perhaps are logging in from different locations around the world to talk about what it's like to be a student here in Canada. I want to talk a bit about Queen's University because as a campus-based program, it's important to understand that you're part of a larger comprehensive university here in Canada. Queen's has one of the most historic traditions or existences here in Canada. Queen's began granting degrees 25 years before Canada was even a country. So it really is knitted into the fabric of our history. I'll talk to you a little bit about our business school and of course dig into the MIB program or the Master of International Business, which I'm thinking is one of the reasons you're all here. Talk to you a little bit about our students and really then dive into career services and our admissions process. So that's kind of where we're going today. Hopefully, again, this answers or touches on the things that you came here seeking, and but definitely feel free to share those questions as we go. So Canada has some of the top universities in the world, and really most of our institutions are publicly funded, which means that regardless of what school you go to, there is a very high level of quality in our education in Canada. We attract students across the board from around the world, partly due to, again, that high quality, but also the student-friendly immigration policies that support that. So pathways to things like permanent residency and citizenship down the road really do help enable or take away perhaps some of the barriers that students face around, our return on investment. So as an international student, it may be far more costly to come and study in a place like Canada. And so, but I think you also have to think about the potential long-term outcomes and how that can support. And that really is speaking to things like our postgraduate work permit program, which basically says that if you earn a degree in Canada from a recognized institution, of course, of which Queen's is, you can actually access work permit equivalent to the time of your study. So I'm going to talk to you today about both single and double degree options, which have different levels of time commitment. That time commitment enrolled in the program actually links back to the amount of time you can then stay and work in Canada. And what's great about the postgraduate work permit is that you don't have to have a job offer in hand to secure it. And so again, that helps to level the playing field between students who maybe need a study or a work permit and those who do not. So we're a country of about 37 million people. I think, as maybe most of you know, though, Canada is a country built on immigration. And so we have an incredible diversity of backgrounds and ethnic origins that are represented in our communities right across the country. So I am obviously born and raised in Canada, but I do think it is a very welcoming environment for students, and that, going to a great institution can really help open doors in a big way. So let me tell you a little bit about Queen's University. Queen's is really that sort of quintessential North American campus experience. When you think about that, perhaps you've seen things like that in pop culture. Perhaps you've gone to another university that really does have a big presence in the communities in which they exist, and Queen's is no exception. Founded in 1841, the Queen's has a very rich history, very strong dedication to research and applied learning. a wonderful building, and all of the things around that student experience that you might expect. So things like homecoming and things like football games and things like student gatherings and community. I'm going to talk a little bit about Kingston, which is the city that Queen's exists in. But going to Queen's and becoming a Queen's alumnus, you really do feel like you're part of something special. And I hear all the time from students who graduate from our program that, you know, buy Queen's merchandise and wear it in different parts of the world, and are always amazed at the connections that they can make with other Queen's alumni globally. So becoming a Queen's student and a Smith student is really becoming part of a much larger family. And that is, again, very consistent feedback that we get from our students. So as Alessandra mentioned, Queen's is located in a city called Kingston. We are in the province of Ontario in Canada. And essentially the city is about 140,000 people. So Queen's has an incredibly large presence here. We are about halfway between the cities of Toronto and Montreal, but we are in an English-speaking part of the country, situated right on the northeast shore of Lake Ontario, which is one of the 5 Great Lakes here in the country. We're about a 6-hour drive to places like New York City and Boston, and only about 45 minutes from the US border. So I would say it's very conveniently located, even though for those of you who may not be from Canada but are familiar with our geography, everything is relatively spread out, because one thing we have a lot of here in Canada is space. But a great city to be a student. You know, this again, the university has such a big presence in the city and in the community because it's been here so long, and the city has essentially been built up around the university. So definitely a great place to kind of build community and become part of the community here. So Smith School of Business is our business school, and we offer a range of different programs. Of course, what we're going to talk about today in greater detail is the Master of International Business, but we have a very, very well-regarded undergraduate business program in commerce. We have a very well-ranked and recognized full-time MBA program, as well as a host of other executive-type MBAs, as well as specialized master's degree. So we do have quite a large portfolio of options. The business school itself is really well accredited by places like AACSB, which is the US or North American accreditation body, as well as EQUIS, which is part of EFMD and the European sort of accreditation body. Many of our programs are also ranked prominently on the Financial Times ranking, both in executive MBA, Master in Management, as well as MBA. So lots of great, I guess, external validation of the programs and what it is that we do here. Although I would say student experience is probably one of the things that we do exceptionally well, in addition to that. So let me tell you a little bit about MIB. This is a unique opportunity for students who are graduates of business programs at the undergraduate level, or at the very least have done some foundational courses in business. And students that come to MIB are really looking to round out their profiles in global business, as well as create an international network and develop and hone those key professional and soft skills that we know take you from a bachelor's graduate to someone ready to step in to a managerial role. So students coming to the program are really looking to take their business understanding to that next level. Plus, they really want to engage in international opportunities that are going to help them build a unique profile, set them apart from other business graduates, and expose them to a variety of different opportunities around the world. We put a lot of emphasis on things like experiential learning. So our team-based model really speaks to helping put students in the leadership or decision-making roles that we know are going to help set them apart as they enter the job market after graduation. And so there are many instances where students sort of learn by doing. Lots of emphasis on case studies and again, putting you in that decision maker seat to leverage your prior understanding of business and business practice, but then have that consultation from a global classroom of peers as well. So this is sort of a snapshot of our program structure, and the boxes in sort of the light purple area really is what we call the single degree. So this is earning a Queen's degree in international business. The program is delivered in sort of 3 phases: core programming and electives in the fall, phase 1, exchange or electives here at Smith in phase 2 or in the winter term. And then phase 3 is really the completion of that global consulting project, which you can see is stacked on top of all 3 semesters, which again is another great example of our focus on experiential, on learning by doing. These are team-based projects where you're working with a live corporate client and becoming essentially a consultant for them. So what I hope you take from this slide is that while there is obviously some required structural elements to the degree, students actually have a lot of choice in how they construct and build a degree that's going to align with their goals. Some students want to stay in Canada for a larger portion of their master's and therefore might stay with us for both phase 1 and 2 and then opt for what we call a short-term exchange in the summer. Others really want to leverage this incredible network of business school partners that we have, and so they stay with us in the fall and then they go abroad in the winter. And all of this has been really designed to just give students a maximum amount of flexibility. Now, what you'll also see on this slide are the year 1 and year 2 blocks flanked on each side of this degree. Those really speak to our very exciting double degree opportunities. And this is where you not only can earn a master's degree from Smith in Canada, but also complement that with a second master's degree at one of 10 unique partner schools relationships that we have. You'll see that some of them are structured in that students actually get admitted by Smith, but then spend your first year at the partner. And others, you spend your first year with us here in Kingston and then go abroad to complete the second master's in the second year. And that's largely because of the requirements of those specific degrees, the role that thesis and research plays in each of those. And so they've been mapped out to make sure that we're setting students up to be successful in, the specifics of those paths. So lots of flexibility. You don't have to become experts in what this looks like, but hopefully what you can take from this is that it's really a program designed to choose your own adventure. And we have lots of different ways in which we support students in doing that. So again, if you've spent any time on our website in preparation for our conversation today, you may have noted we have incredible business school partners on 5 continents in 139 countries around the world. And so, 35 countries, 139 partners around the world. So whether you are interested in traveling to Europe or to Asia, to Central and South America or Oceania, we have got options for our students. And we send approximately 750 students abroad every year between our undergraduate and master's programs, and we receive almost about the same through various different relationships and partnerships. So we are a school that emphasizes providing students with global exposure, and we really do partner with the best schools around the world. So very exciting element of what we do. Our double degrees, so we have this great list of partners around the world, and then we have a subset of those that we have engaged in further relationship building with to create double degree experiences. And what's really exciting here is that for most of these partners, and you may recognize some of these great schools, obviously largely concentrated in Europe, we were the first option outside of Europe for them. And we remain one of a very small number of schools in North America engaged in these types of activities. And why that's important to you is that if you're looking to create a very unique profile, then doing something that is only available in a limited way can really help differentiate you in a crowded application pool. So something to consider in addition to obviously taking advantage of all of the great resources and expertise from 2 top business schools as part of your master's education. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about our students. So we have students from around the world. It is not unusual for us in a class of about 80 to 100 students to have almost 25 different nations represented in the classroom at any given time, which means that if you're in a class, every 4th student essentially comes from a different country. And that creates just such an incredible space for learning. Our students are looking to not only land jobs in Canada and work for global organizations, but really to seek out opportunities around the world. And that's where things like exchange and double degree can really enhance your odds for that. From a career management perspective, we have very good career outcomes. Consistently, more than 90% of our students are fully employed in a career quality job within 6 months of graduation, which is an industry benchmark. Some of the most popular industries that we see students going in, roles in finance and financial services, consulting, marketing, and I would say tech and technology is probably one of the top 4 that would round that out. Global placement with students landing jobs in more than 10 countries is basically about 50% of every cohort. So again, what that means for you as someone who might be considering the program is, that you have this network of people who are working in industry and for companies all over the globe, which is incredibly exciting. Our career management framework is really knit into, again, the fabric of the degree. So it's not something that, oh, and by the way, we have a careers office that you can engage with during your time in the program. There's very much an intentionality about integrating that career management teaching into the course and into the program experience itself. So what's really great about our approach, I think, to career management is that we have a dedicated group of managers and coaches who are really looking to meet you where you are. So you may be someone who is a new graduate or is going to graduate soon, and you're not necessarily sure exactly what the next step should look like. But you know that you really like working with people, you really like learning new things and about new cultures. You really enjoy those really meaty conversations, perhaps in the upper years of your current degree, and you want more than that. But you're just not entirely sure what that translates to in terms of long-term career aspects or what industry or function you might want to work in. And so you might be sitting at that discover phase. And so at that point, our career management folks will come alongside and help provide you with things like self-assessments, some coaching perhaps, just engaging with you in conversation about what your goals are and helping you get on that track to, really thinking about the next steps. Alternatively, you may be someone who just knows that you need that master's experience, you need that credential. You also want to have that study abroad experience and enhance your profile that way, but you have a very clear sense of where you want that to lead, whether it's into a career in consulting, whether it's into a career in technology or finance. And so you may be able to take advantage of resources and tools in that kind of launch phase. So getting specific support on how to build an effective job search strategy, starting to attend and engage in recruiting events specifically, and then, engaging in effective negotiations and dialogue with prospective employers. So lots of great resources, and again, really designed to meet you exactly where you are. So great courses, lots of opportunity for global mobility, an incredible community of students. And then we take all of that and we wrap this incredible student experience around that. It is not lost on us that students who choose this program are making the conscious decision to forego a full-time job and come to business school and be a student for a year or two. And so we put a lot of emphasis on making sure that students can extract the most value from that decision. And part of that is certainly engaging and building a really tight-knit community. And it's always really amazing to me how the students come together so quickly. And I just have to assume that when you get like-minded people who are open-minded, who have a growth mindset, who really want to enhance their profile, and you put them in a room together and you have lots of academic challenges, but then also lots of fun together, the relationships and the connection that those students have is really remarkable. So these are all photos shared from events and things that we've done in the context of the program. Lots of smiling faces, as you can see here, and lifelong friendships. So I don't want to take away from the academics, and certainly that is a big part of the experience. But I also think it's important to understand that this is also an incredibly important part of the experience as well. So again, some of that personalized support includes coaching and advising on everything from academics to health and wellness, the exchange experience, right? We've got a great support and infrastructure to help students navigate a global program like this. We have customized career education support, a development program that's been designed specifically for MIB as a whole, and then lots of ways for students to enhance their experience outside the classroom. Student leadership, club activities, intramurals, again, taking advantage of being an on-campus student and everything that that entails. So we really do dedicate a lot of resources to making sure that you can do what it is you came here to accomplish, which is have yourself challenged, build new expertise and skills, and have a really great time doing all of that. So I see that there are some questions that have come in, which is fantastic. So I'm going to just talk through a little bit of our acceptance or our admissions process, and then we'll dig into some of those questions before we wrap up today. So we do have a competitive application process, and we do, process hundreds of applicants every year for about the 100 seats that we have available. And really what I can tell you is that each of the components of the application is considered for a very specific reason. That being said, we do look at the application as a whole. So what do all of those pieces tell us about you individually? And then as a whole, what is the story that it represents? And what do we then learn about you? So again, all of this is spelled out on our website. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but essentially we have obviously some academic requirements. We're also looking for some of those other details, that references and a video essay, as well as a live interview over Zoom in most cases with me. To help fill in all those other elements. It's really important that students are able to articulate how they want to take advantage of the global opportunities in the program, what it is they're hoping the degree will do for them, even if they don't have that fully fleshed out at the time of the interview. Really just having a good story for why you think you need a master's degree and why you think a program like this could meet that need. For students who are interested in our double degrees in particular, we would certainly have an expectation that you had spent some time reviewing the specific double that you're interested in, because when we do admissions for the double degree, we do consider you for a very specific track or partnership. So for example, if you're interested in a SEC, then we would expect that the documents and the things that you share with us lead us to understand why that particular one over, let's say, going to somewhere like Spain and a degree with ESADE. So it's important to really think that through and understand why it is you want the degree, and help us understand how you see the degree really enhancing your goals. So again, none of this is, all of this rather is available on the website. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at that, and just know that we have a really unique process to processing applications, in that every applicant who meets the minimum requirements, which is, again, you know, having a business degree, or at the very least those foundations, works with what we call an application advisor. And that advisor is kind of your one-on-one conduit to navigating the application process, gives you feedback, and helps give you insight on how to, you know, make sure you're presenting the best possible file. So it's very different than perhaps what your maybe undergraduate experience might have been like, where you pull all the information together and then you send it off to a centralized application center. You can start the process with as little as the submission of a resume and transcript, at which point someone will be in touch with you to help do an evaluation. Okay, so I've gone through a lot of information, but again, we see some great questions coming through, so I'm happy to dive into those a little bit. So Alessandra, I don't know if I'll throw it over to you to help navigate some of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hello everyone again. So first of all, thank you, Carrie, for your thorough presentation, and thanks to everyone for joining us and all of your questions that I see here. So I would say, let's start with the first one, because I see that most of the questions are regarding the admission and also the, let's say, the documents required to apply. So let's start with the first question, shall we? The first one is from Ernie, and the question is, what is the age limit for undergraduate degrees?
Okay, so our undergraduate program typically brings students in directly from high school. So the undergraduate program at Queen's would be, the average starting age would be 17 or 18. I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a limit, but I can tell you that it is an incredibly competitive program with about a 4% admissions rate at the undergraduate level. So you'd obviously need to be compelling. For MIB, we also have we typically look at students within the first 2 years of graduating. So we don't have many students who've been working more than 2 years. There is oftentimes, and certainly the pandemic put some people's plans on hold a little bit differently. And so we've had a couple of students perhaps that have a couple of more years, but generally speaking, we are what we call an early career program. And we're looking for students kind of in the first couple of years after graduation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Carrie, for the answer. So let's move to the next one. The question is, regarding the MIB program and the consulting experience with the company, can you name some of the partner companies you work with? You shared the PowerPoint presentation before with all of the names. I don't know if you can go back and show them maybe to the students. That might be helpful.
So the consulting experience, I'm just going to go back here very quickly. Apologies. So yeah, so the consulting experience is a team-based program requirement, and it takes place basically all 3 phases of the single degree. So between September and August, you and your team will be working with a live client. We've had students that have worked, we have such a wide variety of companies. And what's really great about the consulting project is students actually have, and the teams have full autonomy over who they want to work with. So we provide obviously companies, and we have alumni that come back to us and say, you know, I'd love to have an MIB consulting team work with my company. And so you can choose and compete for those. A lot of teams will actually go and source their own project. So we've had teams that have worked with like small independent startups in Malaysia. We've also had teams that have worked with larger consulting firms like PwC and Ernst & Young. We've also had teams that have worked with like Fortune 500 companies like Volkswagen Disney. So it really is such a variety of like a wide range. What's also, I guess, very is the topics, because ultimately it's between you and your client to determine like what is the scope of the work they want you to do and how do you see your team's skill set being able to do that. And so there's negotiation that happens in there. Students really talk about this as such a jewel of the program because it gives them that very real world experience, but within the safety of an educational endeavor. And so you've got lots of great resources. Every team is assigned an advisor who works with them on everything from client engagement to, scope of the work to report writing and presentation skills and those types of things. So again, getting that very real world experience that you can then take with you as you navigate into the workforce.
Perfect. Thank you, Carrie, for your answer. So next question. What are the requirements to be accepted for a double degree?
So the requirements are essentially the same as the admission requirements that I shared. Again, I can't emphasize enough that if you're interested in a double degree, it is really helpful to understand which particular path or which particular program you're interested in and why. We do have just a more limited number of spots at each of our double degree partners than in the broader program as a whole. And so those spots are more competitive. So having a sense of the fact that you've researched that partner, that you understand the structure of those degrees. And again, I do think that they're laid out really clearly on our website, but you can also engage with your application advisor or a member of our recruitment team to flush that out even further. We have a great student ambassadors page on our website that gives you insight into who our students are. You can reach out to them and ask them some questions if they're in a pathway that is aligned with your interests as well. So lots of great tools and resources. No one should ever get to the interview stage without being able to effectively articulate because there just are so many tools available to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Carrie. So if anyone wants to get in touch with the recruitment and admission team at Smith School of Business, you have the link here in the chat with the email.
Yes.
Okay, so to move to the next question, here we have one that says, what are the benefits of obtaining a double degree?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that what we've seen, and we've been doing the double degree for almost 15 years. So the program itself is 17 years old, and we've been doing a double degree ever pretty much since the beginning. And we've been adding great partners through the years, and we're actually just getting ready to launch some new ones, hopefully for next year as well. And really the benefits of doing the double are that it just opens up so many more doors. So you now become an alumnus of an institution in 2 countries on 2 continents, which means access to things like alumni networks, career support, a different way of teaching, a different way of learning, and the skill set that can really provide is quite invaluable. And your ability to navigate sort of different cultural environments and understand the business landscape in 2 different locations is so powerful. In addition, most of our double degrees provide you with an opportunity to do a bit more specialization. So where the MIB degree tends to be a bit more broad, in the sense that students do courses in operations and leadership and strategy and marketing and finance. The double degrees themselves that we partner with allow you to build out subject matter expertise in a particular area. And so our double degree graduates and alumni have said, the combination of the 2 is just so powerful when you can say, I understand who I am as a leader. I understand, how to present and influence and share my ideas, but I can also back that up by a really strong theoretical understanding of business concepts or a business concept or functional area. And that is something that I think is really invaluable. In addition, most of the double degrees that we partner with are 2-year programs. And so you also have the added benefit of earning 2 degrees in 2 locations at this for the same amount of time and perhaps less cost than if you were to do both degrees separately. So those are some of the big, I think, takeaways that our students have talked about as why they chose the double degree.
Thank you, Carrie. So we have a few questions about scholarships. The first one is the general one. Do you provide scholarships? And the second one is, do you provide scholarship for students during their double degree experience abroad?
Yes. Okay. Great questions. And I should have probably included a slide on sort of financing your degree. So I would say, first of all, that most of our students fund their degree through a variety of different sources. So some scholarship, perhaps some support from family, maybe some personal savings, and maybe some loans. And we have resources, I guess, on all of those levels. Obviously, we can't we can't provide family support, but we can certainly help you navigate that conversation with family if you need to. We do have some scholarships. I mean, I would love to say that we have kind of full ride scholarships, fully funded program opportunities. We unfortunately don't. But we do have some admission-based and merit scholarships. So for really strong candidates with, very strong academic records, as well as perhaps some internships or other extracurricular or leadership activities. And so those are awarded at the time of admission. So students don't have to apply for those separately, and you are automatically considered for those. They tend to max out at about 10% of the overall program fee. So they're a support, but they're definitely not something that you can lean on to cover the entire cost. We do have for international students, we do have a partnership with a company called Empower Financing, which does loans specifically for international students who find it difficult to access, funding from Canadian banking institutions. So again, that is available on our website, and I definitely encourage you to check those out. For students who do the double degree, the tuition installments are actually broken up over the entire duration of the program. So if you're in a 2-year double degree, your tuition installments come in periods over those 2 years. The scholarship is also applied over those 2 years. And so you get a little bit of a discount on the first year and a little bit of a discount on the second year. But the great thing is that there is a summer opportunity in there where you could potentially work and earn, where you don't have any in-class commitments. So the structure of the degree does enable you to perhaps earn a little bit to help offset that cost.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. We also have a question regarding the experience abroad. And the question is, does the tuition fee cover the travel expenses for the international experience?
Great question. So no, travel, transportation, accommodations, all of that is over and above the program fees. So we do what we call an all-inclusive program fee. So that typically includes all of your courses. It includes all of the career management activity, which you can take advantage of both while you're here in Kingston as well as when you're abroad. So just because you're abroad at a partner school, if your goal is to potentially land in Canada, or you have a really great relationship with your coach, which often happens, you can absolutely, and you're highly encouraged to maintain that relationship while you're abroad, in addition to tapping into those resources at the partner school as well. So, but you would be responsible for accommodation, housing, and your transportation over and above those tuition fees.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Carrie. So regarding transportation, we also have a question. And the question is, does Canada have a good transportation network, and how hard and expensive it is to travel around while living there?
So that's a great question. And it's a bit of a tricky one, because depending on where you're from, we have a very good or a very poor transportation network, because obviously if you're dialing in from certain regions in Europe, for sure, the transportation network is far more sophisticated than what you'll find here in Kingston. Now, I will say here in Ontario and where Queens and Kingston is located, we are very well connected with public transport, busing, trains. We have a major highway that, for those of you who drive and want to rent a vehicle or that sort of thing, that connects you to a lot of major centers relatively quickly. And again, it's all relative because you can drive for 19 hours in the province of Ontario and never actually leave the province. And that just speaks to, the scope and scale of Canada. So there are certainly regions of the country that are better connected than others. It can be quite expensive to fly from one part of the country to another, depending on the time of year. And and we certainly don't have the major competition of airline carriers like you have in across Europe or even into the US. But if you pay attention, you book in advance and you leverage some of those opportunities, you can definitely see the country. But I would say in the province of Ontario, we're a 2.5-hour drive from Toronto, 3-hour drive from Montreal. All of that is connected by rail. So you can, access public transit options here for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carrie. So to move on to the next question, we have another one by Giovanni that says, is there any possibility to be hired and work for the university?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we actually have a number of students every year who do work on campus. And as an international student, you can actually work up to 20 hours on your study permit without needing any additional other work visa. So we have a number of students who do like TA work or RA work with our faculty. And so depending on your background, that could be a great option. And what's really nice about that is that it does enable you to have great flexibility rather than a job that has very set hours, because the teaching schedule, your team-based activities can make that a bit more challenging. But yes, you definitely have access to work opportunities. You can work while you study, and we see students doing that in a variety of different ways.
Okay, great. So next question is, do I need a visa before applying?
Yeah, so you don't need a visa to apply. For those of you who might be interested, be it this year, be it next year, if this is in your world of consideration, early application is always encouraged. And that's largely because depending on where you're coming from, the visa processing times can vary. However, you don't need it to apply. You only need it once you get an offer, and obviously before you're able to come to Canada for the purposes of study.
Great, thank you, Carrie. So another question about admissions. What are you looking at for a prospective student? What aspects of my profile should I highlight in my application?
Yeah, so again, there are definitely academic credential requirements for completion of the program. So, we're looking for students who've demonstrated, academic excellence in the final 2 years of their undergraduate degree. So that typically means for us anyway, a B+ average at a minimum. However, those below the B+ can also do things like write the GRE or the GMAT to help enhance that. So we definitely have to make sure that you are capable and have demonstrated competency in completing the academic rigor. But I would say more importantly than that, you also want to highlight why a degree like this might fit with your goals. And, hopefully what you've taken away from today is that this is a program that is looking for people who want to work effectively with people who are different from them. And that's, and is emphasized by just the global community of students. So if you want to work with people who have different approaches and you want to learn from that and become that truly global leader who understands how to navigate some of those cultural aspects, this is definitely a program for you. And so ways that you can enhance or draw that out, whether it's a strong desire or whether you have prior experience, would be something I would definitely encourage. Obviously, we have students, we want students who want to see the world and are interested and really looking forward to engaging in those immersive experiences. So instances where you can really draw that out through your application. Think about your references, think about your responses to the video essay, think about, your cover letter and how you will articulate that. So there's lots of ways to bring out your personality. And those are things that definitely we are seeking in our candidates.
Great answer. Thank you, Carrie. So we still have a couple of questions, and we have a couple actually on the English level, the English proficiency. Yep. So Paulina asks, what English level is needed to study in the university? And the other question is, do I need to take a test? And do I need an English certificate?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if your undergraduate studies were not taught in English, or you've not been in an English speaking environment, if you're working, for example, for more than 2 years, then yes, we would need an English language proficiency test, TOEFL or IELTS. On the IELTS, we're looking for, let me get this, like a minimum of a 7, I think. And on the TOEFL, it's, I think a 100 on the IBT, if I'm not mistaken, are the requirements. So all of our courses are taught in English, and that includes the partnership that the programs that we partner with abroad. All of your courses will be done in English. So you do need to be able to demonstrate a strong proficiency with those exams. Now, if your bachelor's degree was taught in English, even if your mother tongue is not English, but you learned and earned your degree in English, then we do not typically require a language proficiency exam. That being said, the Canadian government may require you to submit a TOEFL or an IELTS as part of the application for your visa or study permit, whatever that may be. So that's just a piece of advice to make sure that you think about that and investigate that depending on, again, where you're from.
Perfect. Thank you, Carrie. So we still have a couple of questions. And the next one is, are there any volunteer or artistic extracurricular activities on campus? And can you please provide examples?
Interesting. So as I mentioned before, Queen's is a comprehensive university. So that means we have so much going on here. We have a medical school, we have a law school, we have a huge arts and science program, we have a very strong business school. Our engineering faculty actually just got $100 million donation, so to enhance the experiential learning activities. So all that to say, there is no end to things that happen on this campus, be it guest speakers or lecturers, art activities. We have an incredible art collection here at Queen's. We have 5 Rembrandts that were donations from alumni. So if you are somebody who really wants to engage in those types of activities beyond your sort of formal business training, there's tons of ways that you can get involved. There are lots of clubs, dances. We have an incredible athletic facility for students to engage in all kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, I don't have those are just a small variety. I've worked at the university for a long time, and there just is never an end to the incredible things that happen here on campus. The big challenge that our students have is finding time to fit it all in, to be truthful rather, because there's just so much going on in the context of your studies and connecting with your team and helping map out your career programming. But definitely there are all kinds of things that happen in the broader campus experience as well.
Great, thank you, Carrie. So another question here from Farhat. He says, do you have some postdoc positions for a PhD for an economics graduate?
Ooh. So I do believe that we do have some postdoc experiences. I would highly encourage you to reach out to us. Because I would have to connect you with colleagues in another office, but and if it's purely economics, it would largely be within our economics department, which is outside the business school. We do have some business economics faculty and an MSc focus in business economics, which is slightly different here at Queen's. So, but definitely, research opportunities for people who are looking for a more academic track. is a different program than this, but of course we have lots of those opportunities here at the university. We are classified as a research intensive university here in Canada. So we would be happy to make those connections.
Great, thank you. So we have another question, and the question is from Hamed. He says, are Yemeni students included in your plan to study double degrees or not?
We welcome students from all over the world, so absolutely.
Okay, great. Still a couple of questions. And the next one is still about accommodation. So do students typically find accommodation on campus? Do you have an idea of a monthly budget on living expenses for international students?
Yes, so most of our students do not live on campus, and that's partly because on campus, we have mainly residence buildings, and those are largely for undergraduate students. All first-year undergraduate students at Queen's are guaranteed a spot in residence to help with their acclimation to the university life. That being said, most of our students do live within a 5 to 10 minute walk of campus in shared housing, apartments, older houses that have been modified to be apartment buildings or shared houses. And that's just a big part of the Queen's culture, is sort of housemates and living in off-campus housing together. Most of our MIB students live kind of within a 4-block radius of each other as well. And so you kind of live, work, play, and study with the same people, which I think also speaks to just our sense of community. So you are responsible for finding your own house if you do get admitted or housing options into the program. But we do have a lot of resources. We also highly encourage outgoing students to share their apartment listings with the incoming class. And so the goal is to hopefully turn those over from year to year.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, we have another question about mentorship. And the question is, do you have any kind of buddy or peer mentorship program for new students arriving from overseas?
We have a very, very hefty onboarding process. And so students are involved in that for sure. We also have a very engaged alumni community. And so we are more than happy to make those types of connections, connect inbound students with students that have recently completed or, from a similar region of the world. So yes, we don't have a formal buddy program, but we definitely can pull one of those together, like connect you with current students and alumni to help navigate that. We also have just a really great team, and we start onboarding for the program almost 6 months before the program starts, connecting you with resources, providing insights and information on how to navigate that, being available and accessible for questions. So nothing formal from that perspective, but definitely lots of ways to get you connected and help you with that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Carrie. Again, we are done with the questions at the moment, but if you have any doubt or you want to ask more specific questions, you can contact the recruiting and admission team at Smith School of Business, and here you have all of their contacts. So also, I would like to remind everyone interested in receiving a certificate of attendance by Docsity that you can get one by clicking on the link that was sent on the chat. And before we say goodbye, I would like to ask Carrie if she has one last message for the prospective students and the people that joined us during the webinar today.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for giving me an hour of your time, everyone who attended, and thanks for the great questions. Hopefully I was able to do them justice. I think my biggest piece of advice is that, this is an investment in yourself, and I appreciate that means something different for each of you. I know what this degree can do. I know that the sense of community and the connections it provides for students who choose it. So we really look forward to hearing from you. Again, you can engage with us in any number of ways, as you've noted here. And I know Alessandro put the email address in the chat as well. You can send us a copy of your resume, a transcript, very non-committally, we can do what we call a preliminary assessment and give you a sense of how you fit with the overall profile of candidates for the program. So really hope we hear from you. And again, thank you so much for joining.
Okay, so thanks again to our speaker, Carrie Regan, and thanks to everyone that joined us during the webinar. And I hope to see you again at the next webinar organized by Docsity and Smith School of Business. Bye, everyone, and have a nice rest of the day.